Well, I can predict the future. In fact, you probably could too if you had certain knowledge that you know is human destiny. Now, when I say I can predict the future, I'm not claiming to be the only one, as I just said you can too. But what I am saying is that if humanity doesn't learn, they inevitably will learn. Through cause and effect, chaos will ensue on Earth due to human ignorance, due to humans not realizing what they must realize. And therefore, the knowledge that in my community, and Mark Passio, Larkin Rose, and the voluntarist sphere of influence will inevitably grow as people see it's very powerful, but it's also destined to grow because people will realize how necessary it is for order. And within our lives on a day-to-day basis, most people participate in a voluntary free world. They simply create an exception in politics. And, well, because of their ignorance, they're in politics, and their ignorance of voluntaryism, probably because they've never heard of it right now, it's giving way to a lot of evil. And you're talking every form of evil. And people in politics, if they are at once confronted with this knowledge, they may decline it, they may attack it, they may be in denial of it, and they want to remain ignorant of it. But at the very least, I would hope for you to have a bare minimum understanding of what it is. Throughout a lot of my videos, I talk about this. I talk about it through the lens of slavery, abolitionism, voluntaryism, different words to represent the same thing. Some people will even call it anarchism. Now that word will particularly trigger a lot of people. Whoa, what are you talking about? Without government, without law. What are you talking about? Without rules? No, without ruler. That's what it means. And means without. Archon means ruler. That's all it means. And Larkin Rose is doing, a little video titled Making Anarchy Mainstream. He's doing a whole thing about that. It's very important that we look at the future and what to expect in this world, especially as ideas get more popular and certain figureheads of those ideas may get popular. So things can happen along those lines. But I can predict that there's going to be a lot of people who want to remain in their ways, the people who maybe their whole living was built upon a political ideology. Why would they change? Would you expect them to change? Are you willing to change yourself? It's not like you have a huge online presence and you built yourself a brand around one idea. Are you willing to change your mind if you were convinced otherwise? Or did you buy all the t-shirts and go to all the voting places? Because guess what? I did. I supported Trump in 2016. I had his water bottle, I had his t-shirt. I even held open the door at the polls. I was devoted to that cause. I knew every position of his. I was able to defend him against all the radical left and all these people that I claimed were bad. And I'm not claiming they're good either right now. What I'm claiming is that there's a worldview outside of politics, which is actually the truth, which is actually what's going to create us freedom. And most people who are Republicans tend to want freedom. People who are liberals nowadays may not necessarily want freedom, but in other ways in their life they do. Everybody just thinks, oh, well, we need control here or control there, and they pick according to their opinion what they think is best for what should be done in the world. And many of the people in the world have really good ideas of what should be done. Some people may say, oh, that's a really stupid idea, and they don't like that. So there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of debate, and this happens particularly in America especially, where you have all these ideas being shared. And you can look at me and say, oh, I'm just a person on the internet speaking another mind, having another podcast, being another person that's doing interviews. But it's more than that. And I'm not claiming either I'm like a God missionary coming to Earth and sharing this message with the world. Because I'm including you within it, and I'm only asking you questions. I ask questions commonly on purpose. I want you to think for yourself on purpose. I'm not doing anything for money on purpose. Because what I'm doing, I truly believe you can come to the same conclusion on your own if you are able to step back from this man-made artificial reality we create for ourselves, whether it be in medicine or whether it be in politics, one and the same. It's man saying, well, you must take this drug, you must follow this law, you must do what I say, and don't ask questions, don't question my authority. But what if you do question that authority? What does that make you? Does that make you a rebel? Does that make you an anarchist? Well, what makes you question? What makes you want to think freely in the first place? Maybe it's because you recognize you're free. Maybe because you recognize it's important to think for yourself. That's a rule. No one's telling you to do that. You're doing that for yourself. You're ruling over yourself. You're your own ruler. And this is a matter of human empowerment, because now you're empowering yourself. And if you want other people to think for themselves, then you want to empower them so they can reason for themselves. If everybody was just a kid and they always remained a kid all throughout their adulthood, they would never grow up, and they would always be in dependence of wanting things and needing things and saying, well, you have to give me more things, and I need protection, or I need this benefit, and I can't think for myself, I need someone to think for me. So no, we have to all grow up and evolve, and that process has to happen. Otherwise, we're going to get hurt. So the future is ultimately predictable when you understand that very law of nature, which many people will call natural law. But even that has its complications in the future. And sorry to say this, because there's a lot of people who teach natural law nowadays, but you have to realize that language changes drastically over the many years. 100 years from now, what we call natural law will not be the same as it is now. And so you look back 100 years ago, look at how people said natural law. Look at Nazi Germany and how many times they made an appeal to laws of nature and natural law. Look at the founding fathers of America, how many times they mentioned laws of nature, or the French independence. And keep going back further, Thomas Aquinas, the Catholic Church, but oh no, we don't like the church. Oh no, we don't like the founding fathers because they were slave owners. And you find out it's like there were appeals to laws of nature or natural law all throughout history. It's not that matters. It's our knowledge and our evolution in knowing that law that matters. And we made a lot of mistakes on the way there. And we made a lot of assumptions saying this is the law and that's all it ever is, and this is where the language must be, and therefore let's impose it on everyone. So we made some mistakes in saying, well, we understand nature, and now because we understand it and these people do not, or because these people can never live with nature, we have to impose it upon them with man's law. And, Thomas Aquinas may even make a justification saying, well, man's law, as long as it aligns to natural law, can exist. But if it aligns to natural law, if natural law is already here and present, and we have no choice but to follow it, then why not? It's sort of redundant. Why does man's law exist? And so you say, well, it's complementary, it's there, it's meant to help us. So people will say government is here to protect our freedoms, protect our rights, help us do the things that we are naturally able or supposed to do. As if government is a necessary function, a necessary thing in society. But what is required of government? The belief in authority, this thing called statism, which is the very thing which the world doesn't know about, which voluntaryism and modern abolitionism is going to bring back to the focus. This is where the destiny of humanity is going to go. And when more people share this idea of statism, and Larkin Rosie has a book, The Most Dangerous Superstition, psychologists and health people are going to start catching on to this dangerous mindset, which has been holding humanity back for thousands of years, literally. Once people start understanding that, the language will change even more innovation will occur than ever, more freedom can occur more than ever. The benefits are immense, but regardless of the benefits, a lot of things will happen, and you need to be willing to change, in a sense, of your language and who you talk to, and the flexibility of content creation. Because this is very important. Somebody like Larkin Rose or Mark Passio can gain a huge popularity, and that's going to mean a lot of people are going to want to attack them for the popularity, for the fame, or maybe because they're jealous. And there's going to be some people who say, oh, well, I know more than them, and so I want the attention. Okay, now there might be some people who have really great ideas, but if you have great ideas, share them. Put out your own content. Prove it to the world. Do you need to necessarily latch on to others, trying to get them for your own success. And why is it about the success? Isn't it about the message? Don't you want freedom? Because this is what's going to happen, and you have to expect it, is people within these different communities will not necessarily be true to the cause. And being true to the cause is not being true to their own ego. It's not being true to popularity or fame, which is why I made many videos about how I don't care about fame or popularity or even money, because it's not about that. It's something so much larger. I shouldn't have to be speaking about the world's evils. And it's sort of crazy to be talking about a world without government when 99% of people will say, yeah, we need it. Okay, and I'm somebody who doesn't want to cause confrontation, who doesn't want to cause more problems. I'm actually trying to prevent all the problems. And that's why I'm trying to say, what is the root cause to all those problems? And just most people, like I said, 99% of people, don't even question if it is actually the government or their own belief system which creates that government, which is that, actually. It's statism, which I'm going to put some questions on the screen for you so you can question yourself what your own thinking is about this. Even people in politics still, even if they claim they know about it, they still don't know about it. And they say, oh, well, it's the belief in authority. They don't realize the psychology, the Stanley Milgram experiments and the Stanford prison experiments. I did a whole documentary about this. And if they need more evidence, I can show them. But the question is, why are they shutting it off right away? Why aren't they doing their own research to find out there's been anarchists all throughout history, going back to ancient Chinese Taoism, in the Tao Te Ching, which goes back even farther than the Bible? How come people don't know about that? In fact, I ask a lot of people, I say, do you know about Taoism? No. Do you know about deism? No. Do you know about animism? No. Do you know about the occult? No. Do you know about natural law? No. Do you know about the anarchists? No. Maybe what they hear of anarchists is Antifa or some people burning buildings with a mask on. But if any of you follow my channel and follow these communities, you say, no, it's like just human beings. So if we want to make anarchy mainstream, it's like, these are just human beings. They want other people to be free. This is why a lot of the first libertarians or anarchists were actually abolitionists, which is why I say modern abolitionism. William Lloyd Garrison, Aidan Ballou, Henry Clark Wright, Lysander Spooner, just to name a few. There's so many, but yet none of them are ever in history books, and yet their writings are beautiful and amazing, eye-opening, shocking. Lysander Spooner is even a lawyer coming from the law perspective, proving that no one ever gave consent to a constitution. And most countries in today's world have a constitution, including the also free America, which is being poisoned by a bunch of fast food and is considered the home of the, New World Order, and, gets bombed and has these federal banks, international banks that control a lot, And of course, a lot of countries are dealing with that. It's not just America. But America tends to be this focal point where people say it's the freest place on earth. Like, yeah, it's probably more free because they recognize natural law a little bit more, because people have the ability to self-defense in certain things. But it's you who keeps this world free now. It's not the 300 years ago founding fathers. So if we want to evolve, it depends on you. It depends on your children. And so the future is determinable, okay, with or without your help. But with your help, you can guarantee its direction. Because although we have the freedom and although there is a destiny, you realize, okay, we can change away from that destiny if we choose not to follow that destiny. But there is a destiny that we have to follow, so one way or another, we're gonna get there. But that can take a longer time if we keep postponing it. It's like an economic collapse, for instance. Keep postponing it and it'll never happen, but it will just keep getting worse. And what do you see with world wars? World War I, a lot of casualty. World War II, a lot more casualty. Civil War was the bloodiest war in history. Well, not really compared to World War II and the millions of people that died then. I don't want a World War III, folks. Like, if you want to prevent a war, if you want to prevent more catastrophe, then the world better ought to understand this knowledge, which has basically the solution to all wars ever. which is the idea that everybody should always think for themselves, not ever suppress their conscience for some imagined authority, because there is no authority in another human being. There's leadership, there's people who you want to follow and emulate, but then here's this king with this charter saying you must follow this or else you're going to be punished by violence. And you didn't consent to that system, and if you don't do what he says, you're going to be thrown in a cage or whatever he decides according to his whim, or many other people's whims. But basically, you're not in control of your own life, and he has a higher claim over your life and property. So that sort of makes you a slave, especially since he can take as much money from you as he wants through this thing called taxation. He can make you, get his permission to be free and travel this place to place because you need a license plate, or you need car registration, or you need a house registration in their insurance companies and their monopolies and only their services and no other choices of services. No choice, no freedom. How are you not a slave? If taking 100% of somebody's labor is slavery, what percent isn't? If you're not in control 100% of yourself, then are you really free? And you say, well, there's always things that influence me. Yeah, but there's certain things you also have control over. And maybe you don't recognize it, but that includes your actions, your body, right? And your body might do some things where it has a mind of its own because you have diseases and stuff, but you still can be in control of that. Who's to say you're not to be in control of that, or you never are in control of that? There's many people who heal out of cancers, who heal out of conditions which are considered impossible, type 2 diabetes, late stage cancers, but they make it out. And some of them do it all naturally, actually, and completely opposite of what the system and the mainstream systems tell people. So what about that? Is that a miracle? Is that just some God magic? Or is it actually a matter of knowledge and recognizing there's a matter of faith in healing, that the mind has such power over the body? If somebody wants to heal, they will heal, or if they have enough loving support, or if they have enough nutrients, or if they, juice, if they have enough of a certain, compound in nature, who knows, right? But to say there's only one cure, to say that it has to come from some government, some research facility, to say that the answers are not all around us when we can make medicine out of anything. And most people don't even know how to identify a simple tree or plant or what to do with it, or how to extract simple medicine when it's as simple as boiling hot water over a plant or mixing an alcohol water solution. Really simple knowledge, but you realize, wait, I wasn't taught this in school. Maybe it started in school. And when was I in school? Oh, when I was really young. Was I able to think for myself when I was young? Oh, that makes sense. So I was programmed since I was very young. No wonder I can't see otherwise. No wonder why I don't know what I see now. I mean, gosh. The system is designed to do this to people. And people are starting to see it. Is it too late for a lot of people? Even if it is, it's not too late for you because you know it. And you have the ability to change anything depending on what you do with your ability, which is grand considering the fact that we have technology and the ability to reach millions of people if we know what we're doing. There's some people who say, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. We got to be trendy, we got to make money, blah, blah, blah. Maybe think even more outside the box than that. Okay? And I'm not saying that everybody's got to strategize here. How do we make the impact? But just do your part. Don't worry too much, because you can't worry. You got to do your thing. You got to enjoy yourself. You don't want to do something too extreme. You don't want to do something that you know is like, it's outside of my box right now, but get there, right? You get there. I didn't expect to get where I am in a network or starting up a newspaper, which I see as like this end-all project which has never been done before. It's like I never expected to get there. Never expected to write a book. I didn't even read books in school. I didn't even write. All the stuff they gave me in school, I wasn't interested in. I didn't even want to read it half the time. I had like not even 5 viewers on my channel only 2 years ago. One of them was my mom, and that was pretty much it, right? now I get at least 100 views per video. It's like, what is this? Because I have such loyal community, people who are devoted to answers, to seeing the world differently. And so, as language evolves and as popularity evolves, you need to keep your cool and do your thing. And don't worry so much. Just do what you know is right. People will follow, people will attract. I'm meeting all sorts of crazy people that are awesome. Crazy isn't great. And, you might meet more crazy people in this sphere of influence right now because they're very few. And a lot of people can get help from this. So I meet a lot of people who get out of prisons, who struggle with drugs and all sorts of things. That doesn't define this movement. That doesn't define who we are, because we want to reach the everyday person. So as we make these ideas more mainstream, it's about reaching the everyday person to the point where it's like, it isn't somebody who struggles with drugs or had all this crazy shadow work and dark experiences, but rather just somebody who is like most people, who just goes through the system and then, whoa, shoot, it's wrong. And it's easier for them to do so because more people are understanding it. And maybe they had some friends that had some dark experiences, or maybe they started realizing, oh shoot, if I don't realize this now, I'm going to have those dark experiences. Right? So people are learning from experience, and we can prove this through a medical point of view. We can prove this through economics and politics. And it's all coming together, spirituality as well. All these communities are all helping each other. It could have just stayed in politics, because I'm talking about government. But notice, it's moving into spirituality. It's moving into health. Because if you're going to talk about a destiny for the world and something that the world needs, you're talking about something that is going to help the world and heal them in many ways, more than just some politics. Politics is really just a symptom of people's minds. Everything is. I mean, most people, if they have a political position, I want a mother-like figure who's going to give me everything, or a father-like figure who's going to protect me. That's like a childhood trauma coming back up to the surface. That's like some deeper psychology that is going on, right? Even Carl Jung said state worship, is a god, basically. It's a religion, worshiping the state. I want the state to make me happy, create a new law, and, provide for me, or provide for someone else, right? And people have really good intentions. They just don't know necessarily where to put it or what's the best option for their intent. And little do they realize that they're giving way to evil every time they legitimize this thing called authority, which doesn't exist. It's a belief, because no one person with a crown or a uniform is given more rights than everyone else. Everyone is equal. That's all we're saying, is that people are just people. So it's going to reach everybody, and that's how it's going to become mainstream. It's going to just be shared and shared and shared, and so there's going to be people who are strange at first coming together, like myself perhaps, and it's going to reach more of the common day average worker, 9 to 5, maybe watches TV, and it's going to reach them, It's not going to reach the person who's taking marijuana, who's, doing podcasts in their basements all night or whatever, or like me, who's writing books. I mean, not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody is into that. I get that. I'm not saying everybody should produce content. I'm not saying everybody should watch my content. In fact, like I said, that's not actually necessary. It's only part of the process. Little bits at a time will get us there. As Mark Pasho even says, slow but steady wins the race. It's actually going at a very good pace. Some people want this knowledge to spread just immediately, rapidly. It will get there, because that's how the internet works. But it's okay to go a little bit slow right now, so we can digest what's going on and get a little bit of a taste of medicine as to what tyranny feels like and how it evolves, okay? Because people are going to receive back their own karma due to their own ignorance. And it's pity, because I want to help those people, but I can't reach everyone. There's certain people who can reach a lot more, but even they can't reach everyone. No one person can really reach everyone. Okay? The media controls a lot of what's going on, and the media is controlled by a few companies, and you have that whole sphere going on. I don't expect them to understand it or to ever grasp it. We have to create our own systems. By being our own content creators over time, we crowd out those systems. People realize, no, they're no good. There's some mom and pop restaurants around here. They're doing better than some of these mainstream restaurants. They're getting like no business. Like, that's right there, good competition. So long as the government or some authority doesn't come in and says, no, 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 you can't do that. Right? So long as the law doesn't go against them and say, well, you can't do that. And there's some mom and pop places and they have no choice but to close down, even though their product is better. But because they were next to a big chain, they were able to survive the taxation. Or maybe they weren't even taxed at all. Maybe they were given handouts. I mean, gosh, right? This is the world we live in. It's not really a fair world, yet people have government because they think that's what makes it fair. And then they say, well, if it's not fair, we just have to change it. But perhaps it's fair if we just let people live their lives and we recognize that every human being is just a human being. And in order to create government, you're not thinking that. You're thinking somebody's more special. You're thinking someone's less special. You want masters and slaves. You want kings and queens and peasants or people, order followers, army, policemen, whoever. These hierarchies of involuntary servitude. But I want voluntary hierarchies. I want voluntary cooperation. And that we see all throughout nature. You can't stop people from trading with one another. But you can stop someone from committing violence upon another. From making someone, from someone believing something crazily immoral. You can stop that. That's worldview healing. And they never have to think that again. Especially once they realize it. They never have to think it again. Okay? It's not like some accident that people run into this. It's a programming that people got when they were very, very young. Therefore, we can get rid of it. We created it, we can get rid of it. Thank you very much for watching. This is Corey Angela. Nature is the answer.